We've had two really good experiences of combined healthcare. So one was last year when mum-in-law, who'd got Alzheimer's, took publicly, she had a number of falls, ended in the acute trust. And that was quite a difficult time for us. And she ended up at the Harplands on ward 4, and they kept her over Christmas and did the whole MDT thing, and they were super duper. There's no two ways about it, and they were very, very supportive. Took me aback, I'll be honest, how supportive they were, but I knew every single day where we were at. Very well informed, even though we couldn't see mum for obvious reasons. I knew exactly where mum was at in her journey. So they helped us get her into a residential home which was local to ourselves. And I never really settled, I don't think, if I'm honest, but became, well, got steadily worse. It's as simple as that. So she sadly was sectioned and ended up coming into ward 6 a few years ago, after we lost Dad and Mum was diagnosed. We made a promise to her. We made a promise that we would keep her smiling as long as we could. We'd keep her safe as we possibly could, and we wouldn't let strangers into her home. And that was a biggie for us because we'd made that promise. So that sort of was quite tough, her going into a residential home. Now, when she got onto ward 6, and I know it's really difficult the first couple of days of her being there for obvious reasons, she was sectioned and it was really difficult. The first thing that hit me was she was comfortable, she was smiling again, so she obviously felt safe. She smiled at the nurses, and it felt that the way she talked about them, although she couldn't identify them, they were almost like they were her family, so they were no longer strangers. So everything that we promised in that is saying, this is very emotive, isn't it? It's all about us as a family, but everything we promised, ward 6 gave her. And that is, in a nutshell, that's why I wanted to shout from the rooftops, because they gave us back what we promised her. Gosh, I can't believe I'm going over the stop set. They became a family to her and to us. They didn't fail us at all in any way, shape or form. Kirsten at the front door, when she took the calls, she knew exactly who she was talking to. She didn't need to ask. She knew it was me at certain times in the morning. She knew, what questions I would want to. She'd already got the answers. She didn't need to go off and find somebody who knew, or somebody's on a lunch break, or it's not their side, or it's, they all, and no matter who picked that phone up, they all knew of her. So it's not necessarily sometimes what they did, it's how they made us all feel. So to see her going from somebody that was very upset and very, very, very angry, so very angry with life, very confused, but to see her smiling and singing, that was just, I think that blew us both of us out of the water. My husband's quite a tough chappy, tough man, but even he got a tear in his eye when she started to sing. Comfortable, clean, tidy, her hair was lovely, albeit it needed cutting, fair dues, but she just looked like the proud woman, albeit frail. She looked like the proud woman she's always been. And we hadn't seen that for a few months. Jo was just absolutely out of this world. They all were. But when Jo phoned to do the call, we had the call around when she was deemed as end of life. She bent over backwards to make sure we got everything we needed for Mum. And then towards the end, they made it so possible for us. It was incredible, actually. So they moved her room so that she was on an end room, which was by the courtyard outside. So we had 24-hour access. How thoughtful is that? They made us feel listened to, I think. They made us feel special as a family and recognise that this was a very special time. Nothing was too much trouble. We didn't ask for loads because we didn't need loads, but they were absolutely there. The night that before she died, all the staff stayed over 10 minutes just to come and say goodbye. And it's things like that. That's the bit that makes it special. You know, she was well looked after, well thought of by everybody, and so were we. So were we. I think the whole experience has left us just quite humbled, really. You listen, and I think that's the bit for me. And it's the difference between you either listen to respond or you listen to understand. And they listen to understand. So whatever it is you're doing around listening, and I think it's ingrained in mental health training as well anyway, and I think that's where, you know, some of our registered nurses like myself could learn something. But the biggie for me is you listened. You listened to what we were saying. All of them were able to play that back in a way that then made sense, so I knew they'd understood what we were saying. And that played out. So Jo said to us, she said, I know you said you wanted all to be able to say your goodbyes. Shall we do that now together? And you, all four of you, go and just get some shut-eye in the day room. She said, I will stay with her. And that's what she did. And I know there was probably a million other things she could have been doing. A million other things, I'm pretty sure of it. But she didn't. She sat with her. Oh, I think you ought to be doing end-of-life services. If that's the service that you get, then why on earth aren't you doing end-of-life services as part of your business? Because we'd certainly, yeah, absolutely. I think getting into your units are tricky. The waiting lists are tricky. We had to wait a little while to get her in the first time round. Obviously, second time round we didn't because she was sectioned. So I think from a family point of view, we will be eternally grateful to you guys for giving us those happy memories in a really awful time, because they were happy. We were happy, and that includes Mo. We were happy, and that's the bit that was really important. Is there something about how you celebrate success? Because you hear an awful lot about the Royal Stoke. Not a lot of people, I don't get the impression that we hear a lot about combined, if I'm honest. Shout about your services. And why I say that is my husband, who's a joiner, he had no idea that Harplands was separate to Royal Stoke. Are the board really sighted on what their teams do day in and day out? Do they really see it? And do they not appreciate it? That's the wrong thing, but do they really celebrate it? Because if they don't, they should. They should be really proud of their teams. But I'd really like to think that Ward 6 knows that they are appreciated, and they must do, because they wouldn't perform like they do, must they? But I'd really like to think, with my hand on my heart, as each and every one of those men, the team knows that they're really appreciated. Thank you to all of them, from all of us in the family, not just me, just because I'm on the voice piece, from each and every one of us. We wouldn't have wanted to have done it without you. They all did the right thing by us. You know, and when I say us, I mean Mo and that. They absolutely nailed it for us all the way through.